Welcome to Happy Homes and Gardens. I'm your host. My name is Daphne Royse. I am a rose evoker, architecture, and interior designer. Lucia Heffernan is a famous artist who works as known for mimicking human life and emotion in animals. Her art has traveled around the world. We will learn more about her creation today. Please welcome Lucia. Hello, Lucia.
Hello, Daphne. Hello, everyone.
Please tell us who you are and what type of art you create.
I am a fine artist, and I specializing in oil. I work in oil, and I paint animal doing human things. And that's it.
I know you were trained in graphic design and oil painting. What is your favorite media and why?
My favorite media is oil, and I am trained I went to school in New York, and I focus on, my major is fine arts, and then I have a minor in design. So my focus is oil painting, and that's my favorite medium. And I tried, like in college, I tried every different things, watercolor, acrylic, sculptures and everything. But I always go back to oil because oil is very forgiving and it's very brilliant, bright, the colors, and you can layer on top of layer. If you make a mistake, just paint over it. And so I think I'm much more attracted to color and the thickness of the paint and everything. So, and I love working wet on wet. It doesn't dry very fast. So I can paint over the same painting in a few hours and it's still wet.
Why does your painting focus on animals?
Because I love them. And I think I'm particular to the animal that with hair, because when I grew up, I have a lot of, stuffed animals. And they're so fluffy. So I like all the fluffy things and the fluffy animals, with feathers and furs and everything. So I love animal I just think they're innocent, they trust us 100%. There's no, intention on everything. Like you meeting a person, like what's the intention behind them? But with animal, they're beautiful. They're God's made nature, so that's why I paint animals.
So which is your favorite animal to paint?
I think I paint a lot of different things. I like a lot of different animals, but I want to say maybe birds. You see a lot of birds on my Instagram, on websites. Mm-hmm. I paint a lot of chicken. They're a type of birds. And I also paint a lot of piping plover, which is those little birds that runs around. And when they're babies, it's kind of like it's like a snowman, but with just two balls with really long leg, and it's very disproportionate. But I thought that was very artistic and interesting to paint.
Do you ever own pets as chicken with birds in your life?
Yes, I love. Right now I have a dog, but I used to have bunnies. I have. Every spring I go to IFA, which is like the International Farmers Association here, and I buy the little new hatched chicken and I put them under bright lights and shadow in the boxes. So I take pictures of them. So they're my little models. And I used to have mice, and I used to paint a lot of mice because they're my little models too.
Do you need to closely study the animals you paint?
You should know how they are because of my art is pretty realistic. They're, fine. I try to make them looking as realistic as I can. So in able to do that, you need to understand their anatomy. So I study anatomy of human anatomy in college, but translating that to animal anatomy, they're pretty similar, the different bone structure. They have a heart, they have all these different bones. So it's an easy transition for me. But because the way I paint animal, I really need to understand how to manipulate them to make them look like they're doing what we are doing.
Yes, but is a very difference between birds and a dog.
They are. Yep. They
right?
are. Yep, they are. But, birds have wings. But yes, I do study, and I have tons of reference pictures of their, bone structures before I even paint them.
Wow. And what is your audience most beloved animal that you paint?
I think they can see themselves in it, because, my painting is about emotion. It's like what we experience in our life, like the little quirky moments that we encountered. And I try to amplify that by using animal. So, but I also like to use their instinct, the animal instinct. Like, for example, I think most cats are sarcastic. You know what I mean? So when I try to paint a sarcastic looking painting, I use cat more as my model, and dogs are fun and happy and friendly. And so if I'm doing a big happy painting, I use dogs. So, and I try to paint pretty life size, size of the animal. So if I'm painting an elephant, it's going to be a big giant painting. If I'm painting a dog, depending on the dog, it will be like a mid-sized painting as well.
So you really bring out their personalities for each animals.
I try to, and then try to combine that with us, like our human, emotions. And so I think that's where the twist happens. And then my audience really enjoys seeing themselves in the animal. And it's funny, I will sit in the background and I can hear them saying like, that's me, that's my daughter. So, and I think, when people can relate to it, it makes them smile.
And how did you find what you paint, like a certain emotion is what people like to see?
Well, I'm a happy person, so I don't like to paint a lot of sadness and everything. We have enough of that in the world right now. I try to focus on the happy moments and the quirky. I'm a funny person, so I try to find those quirky, fun things that you just laugh controllably into my art.
Very interesting. And what is your audience most beloved animal?
It's different. So it's if I ask you versus if I ask 10 other people, you bet everybody's going to come up with 10 different animals. So, some people love cats, some people like dogs, some people like, jaguars, snakes. So it's not, I can't say which one people like the most, but I love painting mostly fluffy animals.
I think you're right. That's why people have a different kind of pets, right? They have dogs, they have cats, they have bunnies, they have a pig, right? They have
exactly. I love pigs. Yep. Cows.
Yes. Cows are a little bit too big to be a pet.
I think so. But you'd be surprised. People have cows as their pets too.
I know. Yeah, there is a different kind of world right now.
That's true.
How often do you paint? And which painting took you the longest time?
I paint 7 days a week right now. So whenever I'm home, I'm painting every day. Not saying the whole day, but I like to jump in there, at least work on some creative aspect of it, drawings, painting. I want to say probably the hardest painting I ever painted is probably my first painting. It's like, you first ride the bicycle, that's probably the hardest you ever done anything. So, you really have to understand the colors and the temperature. The more you paint, the faster you get. So now to the point, it's by subject. It depends, like, the number of subject I have in my painting. The bigger it is, say, if I'm just doing a big giant bear versus I'm doing, 20 bears in one painting, it's, the 20 bear is going to take longer than just one big bear. So I think it's the number subject and the level of difficulty as well. Because sometimes I would inject other stuff in there, like maybe they're all wearing armors, and some of the armors are really hard to, or are harder to paint. Or say I'm painting like a queen's court, like in a kingdom wearing really fancy, crowns, and their outfits are really intricate. That would take me longer too, because I try to put enough focus on all the little details.
I saw on website that you have a big painting. So what is the largest painting you ever paint?
The largest one is probably like 72 by 90 inches, 72 inches by 90 inches. But now I think the largest one I paint is probably 48 by 48, 4 feet by 4 feet. That's probably about one of the bigger one, or 40 inch by 60 inch. I try to paint whatever that would fit in my car, because like taking it to the frame shop, dropping it off, delivering to the gallery, I try to, a lot of artists have trailers that they buy, and they deliver the the artwork by trailers. But to me, I try to paint something that will fit in my car.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So your art show are held throughout the world. Which country has given you the most inspiration in creation?
It's definitely the US, because I think I live here most of my life. So I understand the culture here, and what's funny and what's not funny. And I think England's pretty similar to the US as well. So my paintings do pretty well there. But a lot of things that what I paint are universal. So a lot of people like my painting because they understand the humor behind it. For example, I had a exhibition in the Rome Museum last September, and it was hard because they asked me to paint a lot of Rome themed painting. And the problem with that is, like, I don't really understand the humor, Italian humor. So I had to ask a lot of my Italian friends as what's funny to you guys, you know what I mean? And then what can I paint that people, Italian people understands? So, and I painted several Rome themed painting, and I wasn't sure that does as well as my regular painting, because yeah, it's just I don't think I understand the humor as well. Now, if I lived there for a while, it's a different question,
So if you do paint Italian humor, you think an American would get that humor?
Not necessarily, you know what I mean? So I think there are a lot of funny things, like, for example, in Asian culture, right? In the Chinese culture, what you think is funny may not be funny towards Americans, right? So if I were to do a show in China or Japan and Korea, I really have to dive into like what's funny to them, and I just don't want to offend anybody either. So because my art is not political, I don't want to get into any of the political, or I want everybody to be happy when they see the paintings.
That's very fair. And I understand you do fine arts. So how did you transition from painting traditional subject matter to imaginary scenario with a narrative? And was it difficult?
It was difficult because, I used to go out, and I remember I would sneak into the side of the people's barn and take picture of their animals, and hopefully they don't chase me away with a shotgun and everything. And from what I capture on my camera, the light and shadows and everything, what I think is beautiful. I used to paint a lot of wildlife too, like, farm animal, wildlife, pets and dogs, your domestic animals. as truly as they are. And they look exactly like the photorealistic, but it got a little boring to me. I started, injecting stories into my paintings. So I would imagine, I guess that's because my illustration background, I actually do a lot of illustration in college. And then so I try to imagine like a little story, like a little happy little hamster, they're eating dinner together and everything. Wouldn't that be more fun than just painting a hamster or a squirrel by themselves? You know what I mean? So when I start injecting story into my paintings, I notice I'm happier, and people are out there are responding more because they can relate to the painting a lot more. But the transitions is very difficult because, say, if I'm painting a cow ice skating, I can't go out and take a picture of the cow ice skating. So I try to draw my cow, and trying to find what's their belly look like when they're standing up. What do they look like when they're standing up? And it's really hard to find cows standing up. I'll tell you that right now. But so through a lot of studies, online, finding lots of pictures, I can combine a lot of them in my Photoshop. So each one of the paintings are made out of like hundreds of layers in Photoshop as my reference photo. And I can piece it together on canvas, on my, canvas when I start painting them.
Was that take you a long time just to research what you need?
Oh yeah, research part does definitely take me a long time. Finding the right lighting and everything. I take a lot of photos. If I'm looking for a particular image of a cow, or let's just say a cow, I want to, what does their hoof look like? I recently, I think last year, I painted one of the cows giving a peace sign. So they only have two hoofs, like they have a hoof, and then they don't have 5 fingers like us. And what does it look like when a cow doing a peace sign versus human? So there's a lot of things that you have to, research. Like if I were to use a chicken to do it, versus a cow to do it, they're all different.
I understand all your painting are 2-dimensional. How did you put on your website with the image actually moving as a story?
Oh, okay. So on my Instagram, I start. I thought it would be really fun to see them move, so I hired an animator. Although I like to animation, I try to focus a lot of my time on creating new art. So my animator will take my image and try to animate it through, I think, Adobe After Effects or Premiere, trying to come up with movement, especially like my yoga chick, which is, they went viral around the world and everybody wants to see them move. So I've been trying to put aside a folder of my paintings that whatever that's fun to see them move, it creates great content for me as well. And for me too, I love to see them move.
Tell us, what is your painting philosophy?
I think you should paint what makes you happy. You know what I mean? There's so many things to paint out there. And then my philosophy is also like, you need to know how to draw really well to begin with, and paint with your heart, paint with your passion. For me, my philosophy is I also try to give animal a voice, that on the part that I want to make people happy, but in the same way, if I put this animal in this situation, maybe there's a lot of mean things that's done to the animal. Maybe people will think twice before they do horrible things to animals. They're just like us. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I know you paint every day. So what is your perfect day between painting and also traveling?
Well, I gave the hats off to my family a lot, because I'm here all the time and I feel like I don't spend enough time with them. So on the days that I'm not painting, which is rarely, but I love to travel and I love to go shopping. I like to eat. I like to do that with my family, and then, spend time with them and go out. And sometimes I love watching movies. I love binging, Netflix. So all the above. I like doing all these things.
What are your hobbies?
Oh, my hobbies. I used to golf a lot, but painting take over. I stopped golfing as much, and I used to ski a lot. That's why we moved to Utah, and that took a dive too when I started painting. I want to say my hobby right now is probably going shopping and eating.
That's an easy access, right?
Yes, whatever that's fast. It doesn't take a lot of time, but I think I need to jump into other stuff. But I don't want my painting to suffer either.
How do you work emotion into your artwork?
I don't know if people do this. Like when I'm painting happy animal, I'm actually smiling when I'm painting. So I looked at human emotion a lot. So like when whatever makes us laugh or sad, or when we're not happy with something, I think when I'm painting them, my face shows it. So it'll be funny if somebody taped me painting something with my face, because it changes with the emotion I'm painting.
They should do that, maybe, right?
I know, but
social media.
No, I don't think I want to do that.
So do you plan to create different kind of art in the future?
Yes, never say never. Basically, I love learning everybody's technique. You know what I mean? So I've taken workshop all around the world. I love to see how other artists, paint a certain subject, whatever it is. They're all different. And sometimes I will bring that technique into my paintings. So never say never. I would, I'm always growing and always trying new things. And I believe artists will grow. Like if you see an artist that's painting the same thing years after year, it becomes stale, right? And then just like when I used to paint animal doing, very traditionally, I got bored. So I get bored pretty easily. And then I'm always looking at the new trends and everything, and what can I do to improve my paintings with. So yeah, they may come up with brand new stuff. You never know.
And I know your paintings are colorful and you love color. Would you ever think you want to paint maybe monochrome or something very simple without color?
I've done that in the past. So it's one of the fundamental painting that the professor will ask you to paint a black and white painting, or only using brown, so you can see value, shadows and lights and everything. So I've done that in the past several times, and a lot of assignments like black and white paintings, only using two colors and everything like that. So I've done that, but I guess I'm a colorist. I love seeing color. Even, if you're paint a black cat, it's not just black. There's so many colors in the black. Is reflecting the light around his surroundings. So, and like, for example, if you paint a black cat during the day versus a black cat at night, it becomes totally different thing. The dark night has cooler colors. So you'll see all these cooler colors in the cat, versus during the day, the cat has a lot more brighter colors in there. So it's interesting. Yeah. So if you ask other artists to see something, they'll see millions of colors in one thing, where a lot of people just say, oh, I only see the sky is blue. But in the artist's eye, the blue sky has like pink and orange and all these different colors and yellow. So if you're an artist, you learn to see a lot more colors, I guess.
I guess I'm not an artist because I see simple colors. I don't see a lot of, just like you mentioned, the pink in the sky. What I see blue is blue.
Blue.
Well, yeah, that's why you're
Primarily
I'm
blue.
not.
Maybe that's what you see, right? But if you look at it closely, it does reflect the colors from the earth, whatever it is.
Very interesting. And please tell us how people can shop for your artwork or contact you.
On my website, www.luciaheffernan.com, will tell you everywhere that you can get my art. So because I'm represented in several galleries, my merchandise are worldwide. So on my website, you'll be able to find all that information, prints, you name it, anything, products. But,
do you have any feature shows coming to California soon?
In California, yes, I do a show in Coda Gallery in Palm Desert every year. So this year, my opening in California is December 1st, I believe it's a Friday opening, 2023. And then there are other shows that the group shows I do. Like, for example, I think I have one in LA coming up in September. They're all, my schedule is full till like 2026.
Wow. That's impressive. Very impressive. Well, thank you very much, Lucia, for your time. And I really appreciate it. Your informative art world information with my audience.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.